Yo, Expeditioners, Augiesaint here, and welcome to the channel. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day, and I want to show you guys the craziness that is Maelle. As you can see in the background there, we just hit for 185 million, and we can still take this quite a bit further because we're missing the mark debuff, so that's like another 25% damage increase. We're also missing the buff from Sciel, so that's another 100% increase because it doubles your damage for one turn. So you could take that 185 times it by 2, that's like I don't even know, like 300 million something, and then you add the 20% from the mark. You can probably get like 400 or 500 million damage with the way I have it set up now, and I don't even have all the Pictos yet. I'm still trying to figure out and find all the different Pictos and stuff before we actually move on to New Game Plus, but this build has just absolutely obliterated everything. I can't find a single enemy to actually withstand this more than one hit. We'll be starting New Game Plus tomorrow over at twitch.tv/Augiesaint, so drop on by if you guys want to see the build in action, and while we try and figure out some other stuff as well going into New Game Plus and seeing how far we can actually push this. First up, let's talk a little bit about Maelle, the stats, the skills, the weapon, the Pictos, the Luminas, everything about her, and then we'll get into Sciel and Lune. I'm not really using Lune right now as anything. I pretty much have her set up the same as Sciel, so you can double buff and double mark and all that craziness, but like I said, I don't really get a chance to use them. I need to figure out how to get them to play before Maelle, because I've tried like messing around the speeds and stuff, and I think because of the way I have them set up, I have them auto dying on start and then reviving themselves and giving like a ton of buffs over to Maelle. So maybe if I don't let them die, then she could play first if I like figure out the speed, but that's all to come in the future. For now, this build absolutely deletes everything on the first turn. Doesn't matter. Also, the way we have it set up with Maelle, we get to play 3 turns in a row because of this skill right over our last chance, and then some Pictos as well as our Medullum weapon. I put a video out earlier this morning about how to get this. It's pretty easy early on in the story. Just go ahead and choose Maelle as your arena fighter for the Chestro village. But you definitely want this weapon. It's one of the best, if not the best weapon for Maelle, because it starts you in Virtue stance. And with the way we have it set up, we can start in Virtue stance as well as getting full AP. So we can get like 9 AP starting straight in Virtue stance right off the bat. You can even just use this build to auto attack. That's how powerful it is. So that's the weapon we're going to have. And then the skills we're going to use last chance, because what this does is it reduces your health to 1, refills all your AP, and also switches you to Virtue stance. So this you could use on like your second turn. The way we actually get 3 turns is on the very first turn, you go ahead and you use your stand hold because you'll be in Virtue stance as well as having full AP with the way we have set up our other 2 characters, dying and then giving us AP on death. So you go ahead, use your stand hold, and then we have Cheetah, which is going to make you play twice. So then the Cheetah is going to come back to you, so it's your turn immediately. And then you hit last chance. This is going to reduce you down to 1 HP, give you full AP, and put you back into Virtue stance. And then also Shortcut is another Picto that's going to proc. And whenever you go under 30% HP, you get to play immediately. So you're pretty much just forcing yourself to play immediately. So first move, stand hold. This is not going to be as strong as the last chance one, because we do have under 50% HP, you do more damage and all that kind of crazy buffs going on as well. So the first stand hold won't be as powerful as the second one. You go ahead and hit last chance. You get to play immediately, full AP, straight into Virtue stance. You get to stand hold again. Pretty much everything just dies on the first stand hold anyway, so that's only if you really want to go for 2 of these. And what you could do a different way is you could just do last chance immediately, because we do have some buffs where she gets increased damage on the first strike, and then obviously the increased damage when she's under like a certain amount of HP. So for the ultimate biggest hit possible, you definitely want to go last chance first and then into the stand hold. So give up that 3rd turn, but you will get the biggest damage you can get. Or if it's like an AoE mob, you can just go ahead and hit Phantom Strike. That's going to do very high void damage to all enemies, and it's also going to give you 35% of your gradient charge. You're going to use like a lot of AP on this, you get even more. Probably get about 60 to 70% of your gradient charge, because we have another Picto that gives us gradient charge on a crit. But everything's going to die anyway, so it really doesn't matter. So for skills, weapons, that's how we're doing it. And then for the attributes over here, we're just taking full defense and agility for the speed, and then obviously for the weapon scaling on the S. And then the next thing you want to worry about is might over there for the weapon damage scaling as well. So defense, agility, might is the order you want to go in. And then the only reason I have a little bit of luck here is to cap out my crit, because I haven't rechanged or like reset my attributes since I've upgraded my Pictos. I'm able now to get over 100% crit rate from my Pictos alone. So I actually want to go and reset this, drop the luck, and then put everything into might. We could probably push our attack power up to like over 10,000. But not that we need it, but we can go ahead and do that for like ultimate min-maxing. Then one thing with the Pictos to keep in note, I put over here defense and crit rate ones to try and like balance out the defense. to give us more defense, because the weapon scaling over there is S with defense, but this doesn't actually affect the damage. I went out and tried, I changed this bottom one to like a flat defense one, so it was, I think we're like 6,000 or 7,000 defense, still with the 100% crit rate, and the damage number was still exactly the same, even with an added 2,000 defense. So unfortunately, defense over here doesn't really do anything for the weapon scaling. I think it just makes you take less damage. So I think the combat stats and the attributes are separate from each other for scaling your damage. I think the crit rate, the speed and all that stuff is just to do like in the fight. And then the damage, all the damage calculations is probably just from the attributes. But that's how I understand it for now. So that's why these Pictos here, they don't worry too much. The main thing you want to do with these is select it so you get up to 100% crit rate and then as much speed as you can get. Defense, HP doesn't really matter at all. You just need to get to 100% crit and then as much speed as you can get. So that are the Pictos we have. And now let's have a look at the Luminas, because this is where the build actually, goes crazy. I'm going to have a website for you guys over here. I'll link it in the description. I think it is the Fextra Life wiki. Yeah, right over there, Expedition 33 wiki. You can go through. There's quite a lot of useful information here. But we're mainly using it just to find all the different Pictos. So you guys can go ahead and find everything you're looking for, all the Pictos in this build. And if you click them, this is the little menu they bring up for you. They'll show you exactly where to get them. If you click the actual location, it will show you where to get it in the location. All the different Pictos, very useful website. That's what I'm still going through to like have a look at all the different Pictos, because I'm still missing quite a lot of them. But go check it out. Really nice, easy to find everything. It will be linked in the description, so check down below. So now let's get into it all. At death's door, deal 50% more damage if your health is below 10%. Obviously, that is massive amount of damage with us using the last chance. We proc that immediately, as well as shortcut. Immediately play when falling below 30% health once per turn. So that's how we get the famous 3 turns that I was talking about before. Then we have augmented first strike for 50% increased damage on the first hit once per battle. So this is only once per battle, not per turn. So if you do the 3 turn strat, your second strike is going to be augmented by death's door, and your first strike is going to be augmented by the first strike. So there'll be different damage amounts. If you want the highest possible damage, you want to go ahead and use last chance to kind of give up that 3rd turn I was talking about, but then you get death's door and augmented first strike both on the same attack. So that's like the ultimate. Just go ahead, last chance, boom, hit them, everything's dead. And then we have auto regen, auto shell, and auto rush, just to give us all the different buffs to actually work with tainted. 50% increased damage for each status effect on self. So that's 3 over there. So that's already 45% increased damage. We have burn affinity for 25% increase on burning targets. The way we have those two set up, they'll instantly die at the beginning of the fight and then set enemies all on fire. So that's 25% free damage over there. We have charging critical. You don't need this. We're just using the Picto. As you can see there, those you don't really need. That's just the Picto there to give us the stats, but 20% on the gradient on a crit hit. On the gradient with that Chargington, that doesn't really matter. And then cheetah is actually pretty hard to get. It is pretty important for the build, but you don't need it if you have shortcut. This one is a lot easier to maintain. I believe this one you get just by doing story, like finishing out Act 3, I think. So you can finish this story and get this. I have a cheetah. You do need to beat Spork, I believe, like the open world boss, that big guy in the water. He's quite challenging. So if you don't have it, don't worry. You can still use shortcut, because if you use last chance as your first ability, it's going to put you under that 30% HP. So it's going to immediately make you play anyway without losing any damage. So you can completely just drop cheetah if you haven't actually fought him yet. But if you have fought him and you have cheetah, go ahead, chuck it in. It's very strong and very powerful. Then we have confident fighter, 30% increased damage, but you can't be healed. You don't actually want to be healed because of another one we'll get to in a second. So that's very good, just increased damage. Critical burn for increased critical chance on burning enemies. So you can actually technically go ahead and drop your crit rate even lower, but that will just help you out. And we just had the free Pictos anyway, so go ahead, check it on. And then dead energy, just for increased AP on killing enemies, doesn't really matter, but it does help you when you are fighting a bunch of mobs and stuff. And then death bomb is pretty much just your insurance.
Sorry to disappoint you, Yugi. Huh? You triggered my trap card. Power balance.
Because of all the damage we're stacking, if we go ahead and explode, that's going to be a lot of damage. So if she ever does die, everything is just going to automatically die anyway. So you could literally just use this as a suicidal build, but nonetheless, we put it in there because it's pretty funny. Doesn't really happen all that often, but when it does, it is funny. Energizing turn for 1 AP on start. Doesn't really matter too much because we get all the AP from last chance. Then we have first defense there for the first hit dealt and taken, increased by 50%. That's just flat damage for us. Greater powerful for 15% increase to the powerful damage. And I believe we have SOS power. Yeah, so we pretty much apply powerful as soon as we go under 50% HP, as well as rush. But then we also do have auto shell, auto rush, auto regen, So we're getting all of these things to stack up on top of us, and we're just boosting it with that greater power. Inverted affinity to apply inverted on self for 3 turns on the battle start, and while you're inverted, 50% increased damage. The only thing is, while you're inverted, if you are accidentally healed, you will die. But thanks to Confident Fighter, you get 30% increased damage and you can't be healed. So that's why that works so well. Quick Break doesn't really matter too much. And then the Rush, this is just some more buffs again, just to apply for the Tainted. The way have Survivor there just to survive one time. If we end up going down, you don't need this either. And then warming up for the 5% increased damage. You technically do get 1 stack of this, because if you go ahead and use your last chance, that's going to be 1 turn. And you play immediately because of either cheater or shortcut. So you do get 5%. And if you just keep buffing yourself, you could just like leave her and not attack, and then you can get Sciel to buff you, and then this is all going to add up. So if you want to get the biggest damage number in the game, just, you know, do her thingy, let everything work, and then you want to buff with Sciel, mark with Sciel, all that craziness, and then all of this is going to stack on top of each other and do a crazy amount of damage. Teamwork, yet again, 10% increased damage. Shortcut, we spoke about that. And then we have Powerful Shield for 10% increased damage on per shield point. We're going to have full shields because of in media res. 3 shields on battle start, but your max health is half. Doesn't really matter because we're dropping our HP down to 1 anyway. And then when these 2 die, they give us shields as well. So we're going to pretty much cap out our shields. We'll be at 9 shields. So it's going to be 90% increased damage. So as you can see, there's just way overkill on this. It's crazy. Glass Cannon, 25% more damage, but take 25%. Doesn't matter, everything's going to die in the first hit anyway. First Strike, just for playing first. Immaculate, increased damage until the hit is received. If you kill everything before they hit you, then that's just flat damage. Pain and Power, obviously this one is completely mandatory, otherwise you can't do more than 10,000 damage. And this, you can't miss it, it's just by going through the story. I believe at the start of Act 3 you'll get this, so just keep playing. And then you unlock Pain and Power. And then we have a Roulette over here. This one, actually, I seem to get the low end of this more often than I get the high end, but pretty much every hit has a 50% chance to deal either 50% or 200% of its damage. It's not going to be like in the middle. Either you're going to get 50% less damage, you're going to halve your damage, or you're going to double your damage per hit. So that is completely up to you. It's literally a roulette. Roll the dice. So that's up to you. Completely random whether you get that. If you've got pretty good luck, leave it on. You're going to get some crazy numbers. So why not? But you could do half damage. I mean, even if we did half damage, would still be one-shotting everything anyway. And then Shield Affinity, 30% increased damage while having shields, but receiving any damage always removes all shields. So with this, we're going to have another 30% because we will obviously have the shields on. And then with the Powerful Shield, it's another 90%. So you guys can see there's crazy amounts of damage in here. I don't even know how many times I've said crazy and damage because there's just so many damage buffing things here. How many times can I say crazy and damage in one sentence? Because that's pretty much all it says. If you have half of this stuff that we have over here, you'll still be doing like crazy amounts of damage. Said it again. Cheetah, like I said before, you guys don't need it because it's quite tough to get. I think out of all of these, Cheetah is probably the hardest one to go ahead and get. But the shortcut pretty much just makes Cheetah, you know, you don't need this. I just have it there because I have it and I can add it. So why not? The best kill is overkill. So that's everything that you need for Maelle and how you go ahead and delete stuff. And now let's quickly have a look at Sciel. I won't show you both because they literally just do the same thing. I have exactly the same setup of both of them. The main thing of here is going to be auto death, so they kill themselves on the battle start, and then second chance is going to revive them back again. But when they die, they have burning death, so it applies burn to all enemies. As you can remember, our Maelle had the increased damage on burning enemies. So that's how we apply burn. Each enemy gets 6 stacks of burns right away. We have energizing start just for some more AP, and then marking shots is if we can actually get to go ahead and mark some things, we can, you know, give us that increased damage for Maelle, but we never really get to do this. Maybe for later enemies we'll get that. Breaking death will fully charge an enemy's break bar on death, so you know if you can't one-shot the enemy, that's going to fully charge its break bar on death, so Maelle can go ahead and use one of her break skills, or on Luminas if you want to actually break it and make it take more damage. So that's what you could technically do. Energizing start just for increased AP. We have all the energizing starts just to start with a bunch of AP. First Strike just to make us go first, and then stay marked over there just for a 50% chance to apply mark while attacking a marked target. If we ever get to hit them with a marking shot, it's just there, you don't really need it. And then we go on to Shield of Death. On death, allies gain 3 shield points. This one is pretty important because they will be auto-deathing at the start of the fight, and they'll both be doing this, so they will giving all those shields over to Maelle, and then she'll get the increased damage with the shields. And we also have faster than strong, so always play twice in a row but deal 50% less damage. This is pretty much just budget cheetah, so another way to go ahead and not use cheetah is to use faster than strong. I think this is also from the story. Just check that website where you actually get it. Burning shots to apply burns on your shots, doesn't really matter, and then auto rush doesn't really matter. Aegis Revival, this does help a little bit. 1 shield on being revived, since they'll both revive themselves at the start. They'll get a shield each. and then she'll give her 3 shields, she'll give her 3 shields. So they should have like 4 shields each, and then Maelle will have 9 shields. So that's the Pictos. Like I said, most of them you don't really need. The main things you really need over here is auto death, burning death, and shielding death, because auto death is going to make them die instantly. Burning death is going to apply the burn to all enemies, and then the shielding death is going to give the shields over to Maelle. You don't even need second chance in any of the other things I did mention. Although if you do have all of these things, you'll start out with a bunch of AP. You can go ahead and use Fortune's Fury. Target ally deals double damage for 1 turn, and Intervention. Target ally plays immediately and gains 4 AP. So you can pretty much make the boss never get a turn with the setup. I just need to figure out how to actually give this over to Maelle while she stays in Virtue Stance and she has full AP. I'm still trying to figure that out, because that would ultimately be the biggest hit we could do. Because right now the biggest hit we hit, I think, at 226 million or something on one of the trash mobs. And obviously with this, we'll just straight up double it. And then with the mark, you can even do more damage. So we could get like probably 500-600 million damage if we figure out how to actually get this onto her without, you know, breaking the turn. Because I believe when you use the last chance, it eats the turn of the Fortune's Fury. Well, I haven't done too much testing with it. I mainly just use it for intervention. If something lasts more than a turn and she does end up getting a turn, I can go ahead and mark the enemy, hit intervention. We'll go straight over to Maelle. I can use last chance on her. That's going to prop all of her stuff, and then she can just one-shot whatever's left standing. But that's going to be it for the video. It's pretty lengthy by now. We will have timestamps down below, so make sure you use those to go around. I should have probably said this at the beginning of the video. If you made it this far, you're awesome. I hope you enjoyed the video, and you're looking forward to some more Expedition 33 stuff on the channel, because I am pretty deep in this game. I really am enjoying it. For me so far, game of the year. Let me know down below in the comments what you guys think of the game, of the build, just everything Expedition 33. It's awesome. I love it. The first 10 minutes had me hooked. But thank you guys so much for watching the video. I will catch you guys on the live streams as well as the next video. Augiesaint out.
Run free and dive into the sky. Hear the wind crying.